Okay, so today's video we're going to be talking about the driver and the iron. And what I always say is it's the same swing, and a lot of people say that they're different swings. And I'm going to try and explain why it's the same swing and how learning one move is going to make both iron and driver really easy. Now, one of the things that people will agree with is that there's a difference in setup position with driver. So we move the ball position further forward with driver. I would agree with that because we're trying to hit the ball off a tee peg, so it makes sense because that means the club comes down, then it rises when it hits the ball. With the iron, you'll have the ball right of that position so it can strike more down on the ball. But aside from that, changing the swing is not something that I would ever be trying to encourage anybody I get the chance to work with to do. What would happen, however, is if you are the kind of golfer who has a tendency in the backswing to sort of stand up, and if your arms get too close, you can get away with hitting an iron because it's a short club, but you won't get away with driver. So it's not so much that it's a different swing, it's just that as the clubs get longer, they'd be harder to use, right? So it's like, imagine role reversal. Imagine the driver was the shortest club in your bag and your 7-iron or your wedge was the longest one. You would then not be able to hit the wedge, right? It's the length of the club that's the problem because it shows up your inconsistency. Okay, so what do we need to do? And the key term that we're going to be really focusing on here is going to be width, okay? Now, bit of feel versus real, okay? And that's what I want to talk about first and foremost because I've produced quite a few videos on this subject recently, and I've been talking about the feeling of, you know, straight wrist, no wrist cock. Right, what will happen in the golf swing is, unfortunately, when we hold the club, our right arm in the backswing is going to have a bigger width span than my left arm, right? And it's the same in the through swing. So that's why in the golf swing, in the through swing, your left arm will bend or your lead arm will bend, and in the backswing, your right arm will bend. And the reason for that is because obviously if my right arm was to stay straight, my left arm can't reach. So that's why your right arm bends. Now, what happens in the golf swing is you want to feel like your arm stays straight, is the point that I'm making. And what will actually happen is obviously if you did literally keep your arm straight, you'll only be able to get the club shaft to parallel. Because what has to happen is for me to swing higher, my left arm has to swing higher. And then for my left arm to swing higher, that means my right arm has to bend, okay? And when your right arm or trail arm starts to bend, what you'll notice is that you'll start to induce wrist cock, okay? Does that make sense? So you don't, what I'm trying to say is we don't have to consciously do wrist cock is the point that I'm trying to make, right? Because all that happens with golfers who try and cock the wrist, they just get really narrow and they lack width. And then you get really narrow this way and you get really stuck, and that's the reason why you can't hit driver. So what I'm trying to say is as a feeling, you want to just be no wrists, right? It will feel very robotic, but what it will do is in reality, you'll end up being somewhere like so, as I explained, because the right arm will have to bend, but you'll get good width, and then you can start the downswing and swing through. And that's why the golfers that I work with and ones that really understand the swing, you know, they're able to cross-pollinate all clubs very easy. So if they're doing a short shot, they understand that it's just straight arms back and through. If they're then doing a slightly longer swing with an iron, it's straight arms, the right arm will bend because of that. And then eventually with the driver, it's the same thing, right? Because if you can understand width, you're going to be absolutely fine with all clubs. So hopefully this makes sense. What I'm trying to get across in this video is the point that you want to feel like you're trying to get as much width as you possibly can, which means you're trying to get that club as far away from you as you possibly can. And what I'm saying is in reality, you'll end up here. But the reason why you end up in this position is not because of your wrists, it's because your right arm has to bend, and that induces that wrist cock. See you soon.